welcome back to my channel. This is the second video on my channel and it is the first video in my university series. As you can see by the title, this is a university Q&A. So without further ado, let's get started. I am studying LLB law and my course is 3 years. I know that some people's courses can be up to 4 years, sort of without any of the masters or anything like that, and some people's can be 4 years if they decide to do a placement year. That year would be a sandwich in between the second year and the third year. I had 4 modules in my first year and I'm going to have 4 modules in my second year. My first year, I thought it would actually be a little bit more hectic than it was, I guess, just from what I'd heard of other people saying what they'd experienced at university and things like that, and on videos where you see people sort of going out every night. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't quiet. If you don't want to go out, you don't have to, but if you do want to go out, there is obviously most universities are in cities, so there's always somewhere to go out no matter what day of the week. Even though I thought that university would be quite hectic with going out and things like that, I thought that I would be snowed under with work, but that wasn't the case, and I think I sort of found quite a good way of making sure that I had everything under control by sort of setting out different things to do each week and things like that. So during my first year I had 6 exams. I had 3 that were at Christmas or just after Christmas, and then I had 3 during the summer, so sort of around April, May time. The exams that were the January exams, those ones did actually count towards my first year, so sort of the final grade of my first year, which I wasn't expecting, but it was quite good because it meant that I didn't have to sort of cram in 6 exams at the very end. For the coursework, we had 1 piece for each module, so that's 4 pieces of coursework, and for one of my modules I did actually have 2 pieces of coursework, one that was sort of around Christmas time and one that was later on, and that just meant that it was evenly spread out between the coursework and the exams. I have actually been asked this question before and it sort of was what I expected. I mean, I expected there to be a lot of reading and sort of essay writing, but that was just due to the nature of my course. So I knew when I picked it that that would be one of the key factors of it. But I was quite surprised that I was still able to go out and I wasn't sort of feeling stressed that I was missing out on doing work at home, but I don't think I ever felt like I was missing out on doing anything either. Obviously when it gets closer to exams there's sort of the pressure's on, but I think everyone else feels like that as well, so you don't feel left out. I do actually take notes on my laptop. I find that I can type quicker than I can write, and in lectures I find it's more about getting the information down that the lecturer is trying to tell you rather than trying to sort of take it in and learn it then and there. The lecturers can sort of speak quite quickly and I do find it easier just to type. When it comes to sort of later on down the line, I do sort of recap on my lectures just because they do go so quickly. Even though each of mine are 2 hours long, I find that they do go quite quickly just because of the amount of information that's put in them. I do actually have a weekly organiser and I do like to write lists. If I ever feel like I've got quite a lot of deadlines coming up, I do write out a list of everything that I need to complete, and then I create little branches off of each thing I need to complete, sort of that are smaller tasks, so it means that it's easier to complete each one and I can tick it off, and then it just feels like I'm getting a bit more accomplished rather than having this one solid block of write coursework when I need to sort of research a certain paper, read perhaps a bit of a book, have a look at something online and go back to my lecture notes. So it does mean that I can break it down and then I know clearly exactly what I've got to do and I can allocate the time to it more specifically. From personal experience, I definitely think it's worth going to university. For the career that I want to go into, I do actually have to go to university to get the degree in order to be able to go on into the profession. However, I think even if it's not exactly crucial, I think university does do a lot of other things for people, and I know just from people that I lived with last year who necessarily didn't definitely need the qualification to be able to go down the certain path, it was good because it means that you move out of the sort of small town that you live in perhaps, and it means that you can sort of spread your wings and you can get used to doing things for yourself like shopping and cooking and doing your washing and things like that, that I don't think you really would get to experience until sort of you're quite a few years older, when you could actually move out into your own house. I think the most stressful part, especially in first year, was the fear of the unknown. So it's things like the fear of university exams that I wasn't sure, so I've never done before. Also, I'd taken a gap year. I was worried that perhaps I wouldn't get sort of back into it as quickly as people that had just come straight out of sixth form or college. But I know that also things like fear of the unknown when you're sort of trying to find your lecture room, or you're meeting your new lecturer, or sort of people in your lectures. It can that's probably the most daunting part, but I think once you get to university it's okay. It's just sort of the lead up and the last few days before you do actually move off to university. I was actually quite lucky during my first year that, as there was sort of over 300 people that did take the subject sort of on my course, that for every one lecture that I had timetabled, there was another one that was exactly the same. It was just on a different day at a different time. So if there was ever a reason that I couldn't make a lecture, I knew that I could always go to it on a different day. That meant that I was actually able to combine some of my days. So originally I think I was supposed to be in on sort of 4 days out of the 5. It meant that I could condense it down to 3, and it would just mean that I could sort of do more concentrated days where I'd have to be out of the house sort of, in lectures and in tutorials and things like that, and then the other days I could spend it at home and then sort of spend more time doing the reading rather than flitting from one to the other and back again, because I think it's quite easy, especially when you're reading, it's easier once you get in the flow of reading, especially in a certain subject, you can just keep going until you finish that part of reading. I was actually quite lucky that during my first year I had 16 contact hours. I know that for other courses people do get sort of between 6 and 8, it does just depend on the course. I think there may be less contact hours in my second year, but I'm yet to receive my timetable. Thank you for watching my university Q&A. Later on down the line I will be doing one as part of my law series with more law specific questions, because I know some of you do have sort of specific questions to do with just the subject, whereas this one was more of a general one just across sort of the whole of university if you are going this year. And with regards to the notes that I do take in my lectures and the things that I do for my tutorials and how I do run up to the revision period and how I revise for all of my exams, I will be doing a separate video on that as well.